right, let's get into some scholarship now for a minute here. I want to put the end to all that Asian thing. You know, we done beat it up, but this is gonna be the checkmate piece. So everybody that loves to say Africa was populated by people outside of Africa, we're gonna go ahead and checkmate that, right? For all those people who don't recognize that there were Africans in Europe during the times of those Paleolithic cave paintings, we're gonna checkmate that too. You know what I'm saying? For all those who think like Lord Abibifahodie, because he tried to get slick, he tried to throw in, one of the oldest temples in Turkey. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use some logical information to place Africans all in that area during that time. That's what we're going to do. Because, like I said, the Secretary of John Henry Clark clearly said, right, that whenever you find great monolith buildings, great statues, right, talking about African architecture, okay? Plain and simple. So, it's Show Tuesday. We started speaking on Africans in Europe, okay? All right, we talked about that and talked about how they try to make it Europeans, but they never tested that it was really Africans there. So what we're going to do is we're going to checkmate the whole thing. I'm going to throw this article in there, New York Times. New York Times. Let's see. Yeah, New York Times. It's actually from January 12, 2007. You know, this came from the research department. Okay, and let you know we don't fight by ourselves in the show. Okay, you got brothers and sisters that help and do what they're supposed to do. Let's dig into this article. It's called "Skull Support Theory of Human Migration." It's the checkmate piece now. All right, listen closely. It says from a new analysis of human skulls discovered in South Africa more than 50 years ago. Now, this is saying more than 50 years ago. So, more than 50 years ago, we'll put it back when? 50 years ago. Funny.
Yes, sir.
The thing is, it's taken 50 years almost, right, for them to analyze the data and make sure they got what they got. Not like somebody threw a tooth up in a chat room once upon a time, Lord Abibifahodie, talking about Israel. And they found an artifact that says the humans was there. He threw a damn tooth up in there that has not been analyzed at all. They don't know if that tooth was human. They don't know what it was. He threw one tooth, right, trying to support his Asiatic theory. We're going to deal with an artifact that's been tested for over 50 years, and let's see what they came up with. From new analysis of human skull discovered in South Africa more than 50 years ago, scientists say they have obtained the first fossil evidence establishing the relatively recent time for the dispersal of modern Homo sapiens out of Africa. They say the migration appeared to have arrived at their new homes in Asia and Europe with the unmodified heads of Africans. See, this is called the checkmate for all you trying to say that Asia, right, and for all the white people who claim that Europeans came in and built African civilization, okay, this will be the end of that nonsense because they're saying that the migration appeared to have arrived at their new home in Asia and Europe with the distinct unmodified heads of Africans. An international team of researchers reported yesterday, when we say international, people from different places, for all y'all that ain't got no sense, international team of researchers report yesterday that the age of the South African skull, which they dated at about 36,000 years old, coincide with the age of the skulls of humans then living in Europe, right, and as far eastern parts of Asia, even Australia. The skull also closely resembles skulls of those humans. The timing, the scientists and other experts said, introduced independent evidence supporting archaeological finds and recent genetic studies showing that modern humans left sub-Sahara Africa for Eurasia between 55,000 and 25,000 years ago, probably closer to 45 and 35,000 ago. Okay? What we're talking about here. So we're talking about genetic information to support that. So if you want to refute this, you got to come with genetic information. Okay? Archaeological information. If you want to refute this, you got to come with archaeological information. Keep going. It says, until now, however, paleontologists had been frustrated by the absence of fossils to test the hypothesis of most geneticists that the people of sub-Saharan Africa, right, and in Eurasia at that time were one and the same. Checkmate, goddammit. They was one, so the sub-Saharan Africa was in Europe. Now, the great ancestor Sheikh Diop, he was right. And this fossil absolutely proves his research to be impeccable on that subject. He said that. Watch this. Sub-Saharan Africa and its Eurasia at the same time were one and the same. Modern humans. The human fossil record in Africa from 70,000 to 15,000 years ago had been virtually blank. Okay? Some scientists, on the other hand, have contended that the migration could have begun as early as 100,000 years ago, and that in the intervening time, contact with more archaic populations like the Neanderthals could have produced recognizable changes in what became modern humans of Eurasia. But no scientists in the migration debate have disputed that ancestors of the human species originated in Africa. Hold it. I'm going to read this real slow. For all those who want to play that bullshit move game, it says, but no scientists, okay, in the migration debate have disputed that ancestors of the human species originated in Africa. So that means if you're in a group and they're supporting that nonsense, some the people started in America or started somewhere else, y'all got to get together with y'all groups and change that bullshit because it's called foolishness. Okay? Let me continue because it gets the plot thickens. In a recent report in today's issue of Journal of Science, right, a research team led by Frederick E. Grimes of the State University of New York at Stony Brook concluded that the South African skull provided critical corroborating archaeological and genetic evidence indicating that humans in fully modern form originated in sub-Saharan Africa and migrated almost unchanged to populate Europe and Asia. Grimes, right, and his colleagues said in an announcement by Stony Brook that the skull was the first fossil evidence in agreement with the Outer Africa theory, which predicts that humans like those that inhabited Eurasia, right, should be found in Africa around 36,000 years ago. I know the brother Sheikh Diop is like turning in his grave, the energy, so I'm reading with his energy. Ted Gobel, an anthropologist at Texas A&M. See, I'm giving you reportages now. Okay, I'm not giving you the University of the Internet. I'm giving you reportages, right? Texas A&M, right? University, who was not connected to the research, said the skull opened the way to important insight about the missing years of modern humans. So now we're starting to see real true research where you have different people in agreement, not the same people from the same school, but different people internationally coming with agreement. Okay, it said, writing in a accompanying commentary in the journal, right? Dr. Gobel said, here is the first skull of an adult modern human from Sub-Saharan Africa that dates to the critical period, and one that can speak to the relationship of early moderns from Africa to Europe. Okay, these findings pivoted on fixing the skull age when it was uncovered in 1952 near the town of Hoffmani, South Africa. In South Africa, the cranium was almost complete, but the bones were degraded. Not enough carbon remains for scientists at the time to extract the radiocarbon date. And you know they've upped that technique on radiocarbon dating. Look up radiocarbon dating and how now they almost got it in exact science. Y'all need to check that out. It says using new technology, Richard Bailey and other researchers at the University of Oxford measured the amount of radiation that had been absorbed by sand grains that had filled the brain case since its burial. They calculated the yearly rate at which the radiation had collected in the sand and checked this with data from the CT scan of the bone. In this way, they determined that Hoffman's skull belonged to a human who lived 36,000 years ago, plus or minus 3,000 years. Another member of the team, Katrina Haverty of the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany, made a detailed examination of the shape, size, contours of all parts of the skull. She compared these three-dimensional measurements with those of early human skulls from Europe and with skulls of living humans from Asia, South Africa, including the Khoisan, commonly known as the Bushman. Wow, I think we was kind of talking about that last week, about those little people populating the earth and their traditions. I was trying to bring the point that they wasn't praying. We ain't going to get on that right now. Because the Bushmen, let me see, are well represented in more recent archaeological records, Dr. Humphrey said they were expected to bear a close resemblance to the Hoffman skull. Watch this. It said instead of was found to be quite distinct from all recent Africans, including the Bushmen. She said, and it was very close affinity with fossil specimens, Europeans, right, living in the Upper Paleolithic, the period best known from advanced stone tools and cave art. Okay, so what they're saying here, that the skull they found wasn't the pygmy type, right? Okay, it was another type, a little taller Africa. If you read the book, Origin and Evolution of Premortal Man by Albert Churchwood, okay, get that book. I'm going to say it again. Origin and Evolution of Primitive Man by Albert Churchwood. He clearly tells you how the pygmy started, and then he had another African that came after him, a little bigger size. Well, this is the size that ended up migrating to Europe around 36,000 years ago. But the point I really want to make is that, let me read this again because it's very important to get this. It says, with fossil specimens of Europeans living in the Upper Paleolithic, the period best known for advanced stone tools, cave art. For a long, long time, they was trying to make it seem like that they weren't African people that was painting on the cave art. And I've looked at the cave art, and I've seen them women with them big butts. That's a dead giveaway for an African sister. I'll never forget, I was watching the National Geographical special, and they tried to wish it pie real quick, and they showed some women on those cave paintings in Europe, and I was like, wow, look at them sisters, look at them butts. Look at them thin waists. That's a sister. So this skull clearly proves, right, that the ones that call European, right, are exact duplicates of those that you find in sub-Saharan Africa. Let me finish. Much to my amazement, Dr. Graham said in an interview, the skull likened very closely with those from Europe at the time and not with South African remains of 15,000 years on. Okay? And say Dr. Graham said these modern humans probably originated in East Africa, which and fossil and ancestors of species and moved into Eurasia and also tip of Africa. It said it would be nice, he concluded, if we had more specimens. Another report in Science describes one of the earliest occupation sites of modern humans in Europe at Kostenki on the Don River. You know black people like to be on the river. 250 miles south of Moscow. Black people all the way up in Moscow, right? It's stone and bone, and the human figurines appear to have been made about 45,000 years ago. Perhaps the earliest, 45,000 years ago, perhaps earlier than human sites in the West. I mean, you know, I just wanted to read that Y'all can finish reading that. But it's a very detailed on how just a national team of researchers, kind of did different work on that. And we talking about all the way up in Russia. We talking about the Don River. You know what I'm saying? We talking about Pacific places where we find original African people. I mean, the evidence is there and it's clear. But that would be a checkmate for anybody trying to run that bullshit across us about that Asiatic nonsense. So anybody that's migrating back in from Asia, you know what I'm saying, was originally African. We said that the whole time. Anybody want to add something to that? Because that's a very, very important find in our development, and that was 2007, and I appreciate the brother that gave me the information. Very, very important find for us. Very, very important.
From my perspective, I think the reason why that's so important is because it's the validation of the sources that are being presented. You're talking about, you're not only giving us references and the brother supplying you with the information, but you're dealing with the doctors, you're dealing with location, multiple scientific assessments. You deal with the, coming from Oxford, from Texas A&M, and all of this stuff. Whereas a lot of these other people who put out outlandish claims, their sources forbidden archaeology.
Oh, we ain't even
what I'm saying? And they use that as a valid, they actually get up in front of the people and use this as a source. Well, I got this from forbidden archaeology that human beings was around at 2 billion BC. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? So this is the difference of having a standard in a format versus the Wikipedia cheerleaders.
Oh, the Wikipedia cheerleaders. Wow. Well, I'll put that back in the chat room for y'all. Y'all can finish kind of reading that. Go ahead, Sinjetti.
Yeah, you can even read books such as like John G. Jackson's book, Introduction to African Civilization. And you go into his chapter, African Origins of Man, it is replete with documentation, references, scientific discussion, you know what I'm saying? And we pull from researchers like this, you know what I'm saying? Not, as the brother just mentioned, one book called Forbidden Archaeology. And I've seen brothers use that book. And I'm like, well, what are the names of the doctors? Where did they dig? Give me some places. Like, what kind of actual scientific documents do we have? You know what I'm saying? Whereas though you go to a book such as Introduction to African Civilization, he's citing multiple references, different sciences from different time periods confirming the same thing. You know what I'm saying? That human life starts in Africa. That's that. There's really not much of a debate. And those who support the out of Asia paradigm, those people are influenced by Eurocentric or so-called polycentric theorists, all right, who want to take the origins outside of Africa, okay, because they don't want to admit that their civilization starts there.
Yep. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
We're
absolutely right, Brother Sinjetti. That's right.
All right, let me add. The situation definitely, that is great information. To show, of course, that, the birth of civilization, of course, stays in Africa. Any person that, especially coming from, our communities, African Americans or, Africans, especially, coming from seeing the information that our scholars have brought us, and you are of African descent, and you are African, and you see all the information that our scholars has brought us, from Dr. Ben to, Dr. John D. Jackson to Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop to Van Satima and Williams Hansberry, and it keeps going down the line. Stolen Legacy, George M. James, and the line keeps going. All these scholars and all these teachers come to bring the information to let you know that, Africa is the birthplace of civilization, and that is where civilization come out of. And you come and you say that it didn't, that doesn't make no sense. It shows that you don't have respect for, people that have, brought forth information and have made themselves known historically. John Henry Clark and all these other greats, they have made themselves known historically, and we recognize them as great teachers. Now, these people, these great scholars, they come on the scene to protect Africa, to protect your identity, and to show you that you have done something and you have brought to the world civilization. You understand what I'm saying? You are the originator of science, mathematics, philosophy, religion, masonry, secret societies, and it keeps going down the line. And then from all this, what our scholars come to show us, you turn around and say, oh, no, we didn't come from Africa. We came from Arabia, or we came from, Israel or Canaan. You understand what I'm saying? We're Canaanites. Come on, man. You just look at what the scholars have taught. You have to understand when you are, especially brothers that are part of what we consider to be black conscious organizations, you just have to have the understanding of them. History is different from what, religious leaders teach. It's totally different, man. It's a different field. So when you try mixing that in and trying to throw it as history, you mess up. So, just stop it, man. You see what our teachers has brought up. The teachers, man, these African scholars, man, they are like elders in the village. So you sit beside them and you get the information. They are teachers. Teachers say things that are, some things are right, some things are wrong. But you take the best of the information and you apply it. But one thing you shouldn't disagree. What?
Haru, let me add something.
Let me say this real quick. One thing you shouldn't disagree on, is that Africa is the birthplace of mankind, and from where mankind came out of and traveled all over the planet Earth and brought forth civilization and built, houses and whatever you want to say, science, everything, man. You shouldn't disagree on that, man. There's no need to.
All right, we're going to go to the lines in a second. I like to deal with the dude in the chat room. Say there are skulls in Asia and Europe older than 36,000 years old, fam. So this isn't concrete proof. I'm going to put the article back in there again, okay? I'm going to let you read it for yourself because you're a fool. You're not paying attention. We know goddamn well that skulls in Europe older than 36,000 years. The article was detailing the fact that sub-Saharan African skull matched up with European skull at 36,000 years with the same goddamn date. Are you hearing the words come of my mouth? You're so quick to beat back Africa that you're not listening.
That's right.